It's 4:10. Oh, 4:11. There you go. AM 1220 KHTS, your hometown station. I'm Tori on this Monday, and as Perry and I were discussing, Perry Smith, news director here at Hometown Station, we have a little bit of special programming going on for the next few days because we're trying to help fill this city council seat. So I'm going to turn this over right now to Perry Smith and his guest. There you go, Perry. It's all you.
Diane Trautman, thank you for coming in. And just so I can let everybody know, instead of doing essentially a scrum with all 50 applicants, we're inviting you all in one by one to kind of speak to your to the issues that you feel are need to be addressed for the residents of Santa Clarita. And with this application, Dante left. He was elected to the assembly. So now we have a vacancy on city council, and you are one of the 50 applicants. And so thank you first for coming down here and taking the time.
Absolutely.
And for you're on the planning commission for the city. For residents who might not know who you are, tell us a little bit about yourself and your community involvement.
Okay, well, my family moved out here. We moved out here with our two young children in 1993, so coming up in March. We will have been here 24 years, and we came out here for the schools. We love the community. We actually lived out here before. My husband and I met as students at Cal Arts. So I was out here from 1977. He was only here for the year, but I met him there. So I came out in August of 1977, and I graduated in 1980.
Can I ask what you were studying at Cal Arts?
Theater. We were both in theater. He's an actor and puppeteer, and I pursued that for a little while, and then one of us actually had to have a job.
Okay.
So I worked in human resources for 7 years. I've done a lot of other work too, but I really enjoyed that, and I enjoyed, trying to make things work for people, and so I carried that through. When I moved out here, I became involved in PTA. I have been involved for something like 15 years. I'm not currently involved in PTA now, but I became very active that way. I started attending all sorts of community meetings, talking about the general plan and circulation element and all of that.
How did you get involved in the planning commission? That's a really interesting position. I mean, you guys do a lot as far as deciding how the city is shaped, but I think not a lot of people maybe know as much or understand what you guys do.
Right. Well, I decided that I would run for city council in 2000, and I was kind of working alongside Marcia McLean. I think that was her second time of running, actually, and so I was talking to her, and I helped her on her campaign a bit as well, and I was running my own. Actually, 98, that's what it would have been, or something. And so I started to get involved that way, and then when she was elected in 2002, I applied to be on the planning commission. Well, I had a general idea of what they did, but it is complicated, and we have to follow very specific rules, and we don't create policy and things like that, and so we have to abide by the state laws and ordinances and the codes, and we help to craft some of those things and coordinate that. But what intrigues me about the city council is that the city council sets policy and goals, and they're the ones that establish a vision, and then the city staff carry out that vision. So there are things that I'd like to see.
You maybe see it as, correct me if I'm wrong, a progression, if you will, from planning commission to city council.
I do, actually, because Councilmember West was actually on the Parks Commission before she joined the city council, and Councilmember Keller was on the Planning Commission. I don't know how long their terms were, but I think that's sort of the place where you start to get an understanding of what's involved in city government and how it functions and where you fit in and how you can help. And I've done things, I've worked as a planning commissioner, I've contributed in that way, but I became aware of other things over which I had really no control. But as a private citizen, I could do something about them. So when there were issues outside of the city with the development, I could go down to the county and support the city in their quest to have something, decided differently.
And speaking of which, since you've worked on some of those issues and or at least are familiar with them, talk to me about what you would see as the priorities for city council if they named you as the next member.
Well, everything has to be kept in balance, but there are certain things. I like the 2020 plan. I think there's a lot of good in it, but I think there are gaps, and there are action points in it that need to be further explored, and there are things missing. And I felt that one of the points that they make under public safety is traffic safety. But I think we are having far too many, well, any are terrible, pedestrian deaths, bicyclist deaths, and we need to do something more proactive to stop that. And I talked about that as a planning commissioner as well, as how do we create these roadways so that we are minimizing risk to people. So that's one of them. Having been through the whole discussion with the Henry Mayo New Hall Memorial Hospital campus expansion, I watched as the transitional care unit was closed, and the city has money as a result of that decision to put toward a unit, but nothing has been done to find one. And I know that they have it on a burner, but I want to move it forward because we have people who really need to have a place to go in between their stay in the hospital and returning home.
And you're setting me up perfectly for my next question. Thank you. Could you talk to me about, if you were appointed as city council, what's one thing that you would have done very similarly to this city council, and maybe one item that you can think of from the past few years where you would have done things differently?
Well, I think, I thought about your question, and I think one of the really good things the city did was create the open space district. I think one of the things that's going to remain of value in this valley is creating a good, solid, natural environment that we can all go to for recreation, to relax, and I'd like to incorporate more into the city, but so that's something that I think was really good. I participated in that campaign, but I think this process here,
okay,
this process of an appointment, I would like to have seen them do differently. They knew, I would like to have seen them, and I told this to the council, I would like to have seen them appoint whoever came in, the person who came in third, and that was Tim Ben Boydston. I would have said that no matter who it was who came in third, as long as they had a decent amount of votes. And without doing that, I think a special election keeps the public involved and gives them a sense of transparency coming from the city and fairness. And, politics is a lot of trust. You need a lot of trust from people. So I would have gone that way. But the city they've been through this before with Cameron Smythe when he left, and I think it would have been a really wise thing for them to do, to come up with some sort of a secession plan, because it can happen even without an election.
Diane, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to come down here and again speak to our listeners and the residents. Diane Trautman, good luck on January 17th.
Thank you very much.